I think that is really the story of the month, presumably around Christmas, is the spat between, well, not even a spat. I mean, it's a literal war on the historical front. It's Putin's attempts at rewriting history and accusing Poland of starting World War II. The reason this is particularly relevant is we've got the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz coming up at the end of January, which means this is a sort of very tense period in general the historical sphere, and Putin has been doing his very best to meddle in that. And there's been a really wonderful response from the Polish Prime Minister, Mateusz Morawiecki. A 4-page statement was released about the Polish perspective, the Polish point of view, and in fact not so much the Polish point of view, but merely the historical truth that the Second World War was started due to the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact between Hitler and Stalin. And the wonderful thing about this story is, despite Putin's attempts at rewriting history, this has generally speaking caused a huge amount of international media, ambassadors, diplomats all around the world coming out and condemning Putin's attempts at rewriting history and defending the historical truth that Poland was attacked and destroyed by two of the great totalitarianisms of the 20th century. Yep. And that First News article outlays all of that. And shows us all, I mean, we can see it here on the screen, we can see all the international headlines around this topic, and there's a huge number of diplomats that have spoken up about the topic.
Yep, and you can see this is all, as Stefan has said, on the First News, so you can catch up with this live story because it's happening right now on the First News. And this also seemed to make waves at the same time, Stefan, which is the intervention, as you say, of many people, but including the US ambassador to Poland.
Georgette Mosbacher also spoke out against it. And the really wonderful thing, I think, was we had media from the left and the right. I mean, this was across the board, internationally. Everyone really came out and slammed Putin about this topic. And it really is. It's such an offensive way of trying to rewrite history, because it's such an obvious fake thing to push. It's almost shocking that they would stoop so low. And it was also fascinating to watch as the row erupted, to follow the accounts of various Russian diplomats in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Their English got successively worse. The more irritated their diplomats got, the worse the English responses were. And I think Georgette Mosbacher, the American ambassador to Poland, was particularly ferociously attacked by the Russians. And she also responded to very wonderful and very witty responses from the Americans. It was a very low-level trolling of the Russians, which was very amusing. Despite the seriousness of the topic, it was very amusing just to see the Russians sort of melt down live on Twitter.
As you say, it's basically indefensible. We're literally looking at a picture right now. Producer Camille, if you can show this right now, of Stalin shaking the hand of von Ribbentrop, who's the foreign minister for Germany, having signed this agreement. It's not so much the mutual pact of non-aggression. Yeah. It's the secret.
It's the secret aspect of
clause, which nobody knew about at the time, which is conveniently forgotten from the accounts, especially today, saying we're going to carve this country up, let's invade, we won't attack each other as well. It literally drives me mad, you know, like my fury level just goes through the roof. Stuart, do you have the same reaction?
Well, I think that's what we're supposed to think.
He wants to irritate us.
Perhaps. So there's a lot of second guessing about why he's done this.
What do you think? What sort of second guessing is there? Why do you reckon? What are the possibilities?
I've no idea why Putin has done this. A lot of people say they know why, but why he's done it is a mystery.
Well, Stefan, what's your opinion?
Well, I mean, it's a pretty silly hill to die on, isn't it? I mean, it's not the hill I'd choose to die on, sort of claiming that Poland is responsible for the Second World War. But the timing does suggest that the timing is obviously interesting, because world leaders are going to congregate in Auschwitz for the 75th anniversary of the liberation of the camp. It's probably the last sort of round anniversary where the witnesses of history are still going to be there. The last remaining prisoners who are still alive, who remember the camp, who were prisoners there, will be there. And you know, the eyes of the world will be focused on this one event in Poland for a few days. So the timing is interesting, but why he's done this, I have no idea.
We sometimes have a tendency to see this guy, this leader, as kind of basically never puts a foot wrong, but perhaps it's more cock-up than conspiracy. I'm a great fan of the cock-up theory of world affairs. So perhaps
I think it's more likely than a grand conspiracy. Sort of everything is planned to the.
You know, the Kremlinology of the communist times, where you sort of thought they were 3 chess moves ahead, whereas in fact they never were.
Yeah, they never were. But you just expect your opponent to be that much brighter than you, and I think Russia is being. There's that wonderful saying about Russia that she's never as weak as she appears, nor as strong as she would like you to believe she is. And I think that is the case. She's not. You know, they're an empire, but they're sort of slightly crumbling empire, but they're an empire nonetheless. So.
Guys, let us know in the comments if you have an opinion on any one of these 3 stories. Then you make sure you let us know. Let us know if you think you know what Vladimir Putin is up to, and let us know if you've also seen how people have reacted to this story outside of Poland, because as Stefan says, there has been a huge reaction, and you can catch it all on the First News website. Now,